All right, welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I'm your man, Big Jack. This is where we prove we are stronger together, that if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. I am super excited today because I have a special guest that's going to be with me today on this show. And I'm just doing my I'm excited. I want to get her on the stage. I want to get her up here. So as I'm going through it, I want to invite her up on the stage. I want everyone to definitely stand by as we bring my guests up, and here she comes. All right, we have Echo. Hello, Echo. How you
Hello,
doing?
hello.
All right, and this is living my best life. Is it after 60 or at 60?
At 60.
At 60. At 60. All right. So I got Echo on the stage with me, and I'm super excited to have you here. And thank you for being on the Iron Sharpening Iron show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, yeah. So if you don't recognize those who are out there, I mean, well, one Echo, let's just go down. We're on the Iron Sharpening Iron show. We are live, and this is not your first time being live, but we're live. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. You're live on your own channel right now. So if you're coming through and you're seeing it, come on in through Echo's channel. And then at the same time, we will stream this to TikTok and to Instagram after this is done. So we'll be on all the different platforms.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and we're gonna have people that's gonna come in through the chat and things like that. So once they come in through the chat, let's make sure we'll make sure we recognize everyone that come in. And I try to give the blue jacket throughout the show, but normally I'll go back when it's all said and done and make sure everybody get their blue jackets throughout the after the show is over, and all that way it's just a little easier for me. So I'm still slow in the process of trying to get better. So, but again, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being here. Yeah, and I know for those who don't know, I know the last episode I had, we're doing the celebration with my mom and having her for her 70th birthday, and I had you on the after show, and I just want to thank you for being on the after show, and thank you for being on the panel, and the insight that y'all brought was just amazing, and you really helped me celebrate her day, and she truly thanked you and everyone else that was on the panel for helping her day be special. So thank you again for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I learned a lot. Now, like I told you, I learned a lot about the whole process because I mean, not so much process, but I learned a lot about my mom, and then I learned a lot about just some of the things that y'all brought up that I had no clue. And one of the things we talked about was the gym uniform, but we'll have to get into that. But that was one of the things I was definitely like, wow, the gym uniform. That I would have never guessed in a million years that was the
Yeah.
process.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, Echo, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who is Echo.
Okay, well, I'm 62. I grew up in Indiana. I now live in South Georgia, and it is sunny and 75 out right now today. I've been married. I have one daughter and one granddaughter. And let's see, I'm just figuring out my creative side and what I like to do as far as creativity goes. I've always liked to read. I like true crime, and I love YouTube. YouTube has been good to me, as they say. I've really enjoyed having my channel and building my channel, and am just I'm here to help any YouTubers that I can. If there's anybody that needs any help, because when I started out, I had no one to talk to, no one to ask questions to. Everybody acted like everything was a trade secret, and there was no sharing of information. So
Mm.
I want to change that. I want to help anybody I can help.
All right. Wow, that's good to know. So, Indiana to Georgia. That
Hmm.
that's a big change, I guess, in the from one spot to another. That's so.
Yes.
What was it? So before we get to that part, I guess I'm gonna ask you. So, if you don't mind, share like what was your childhood like? I mean, was your childhood in Indiana or was it in Georgia? Which
It was
one
in
was it?
Indiana.
So what was it like as a child growing up in
I
Indiana?
I lived in Indiana until I was 23.
Okay.
And the thing I loved about growing up in Indiana was the snow and all the outdoor sports during the winter months. And yet, when I became an adult, that was the one thing that I wanted to get away from. And that's why I moved to Georgia.
Right.
But I grew up in the 60s and it was totally different back then. I mean, we didn't have seat belts in our cars.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have microwave ovens. We didn't have cell phones. I lived in a little subdivision that we basically had a grocery store, an elementary school, and a church, and
Mm-hmm.
then our houses. And my family was one of the first houses on our street. And we all of the kids played together outside. All of the parents, if you were at Johnny's house and you got in trouble, his mom would take care of it and she would let your mom know. And, if anybody's mom called out for anybody to come home and you knew where that person was, because kids like to hide and, you know,
Right.
oh, I don't hear my mom, you know, it was like, you better be saying, oh, they're over there. And we could play until the street lights came on at night. That was
I
our
was about to ask you that. Did you have the street light
yeah.
rule? Yeah, yeah.
That
Okay.
that was our notice that it was time to come in is when the
Mm,
street lights came on at night. But we would have acorn fights. The
mm,
acorns would fall in the fall out of the trees, and we would collect all the acorns in like brown paper bags and buckets and whatever we could find. And then we would get on either side of the street and we would kind of construct little forts. And then we would throw the acorns at each other.
oh, wow.
And we always got in trouble because when people would drive down the street, which it wasn't very much traffic, but every
Mm,
once in a while somebody would drive down the street and they would think we were going to hit the car with the acorns,
with the acorn.
but we didn't. But then in the wintertime, we did the same thing, but with snowball fights and snow forts and, things like that. So,
Right. No,
um,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, it was really a lot of fun. And we walked to our little elementary school. It was just a few blocks away. I can remember one time it rained and flooded really bad, and they brought us home in a rowboat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was
So,
really interesting. All the dads kind of got together and brought their boats up to the school, and they took loads of us in the boats and took us home. And during the blizzards in the wintertime, our dads would walk to the store with the sled and get whatever groceries or diapers or, whatever anybody needed and bring them back. And it was just a really different time.
right.
You looked out for your neighbors, you felt safe with your neighbors, you know, that kind
No,
of thing.
that's that's different. I mean, the acorns. I'm more thinking when you said it, like the squirrels will probably be more upset. Like, why you taking
Yeah.
all the acorns, throwing them
Oh,
around?
they
But
would get in our stash and eat them.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's normally what kids would do. I mean, acorns. I guess it may be safer than throwing rocks at each other or things like that. But at the same time, I could see that being exciting and people getting together and having a good acorn battle. So did you
Hmm.
make it like a tradition thing where it's like on Saturday mornings we was gonna have a battle, we had our teams ready to go, or was it just random?
It would just be when the acorns started falling, everybody started collecting them.
Mm,
And then we just, when we would get outside, which usually was on the weekend, we would do it. But some people had kind of steep driveways, and I can remember them dropping their bags of acorns and like them going all down the driveway, and then they had to scurry to try to pick them up and things like
no.
that. So it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun though. I don't think we ever thought about somebody getting hurt by getting
Mm,
hit with one or
right, right.
anything getting damaged by getting hit with anything. And it was mostly about who had the most acorns, because you could fight for the longest, the more acorns you had
More
to throw,
acorns, yeah.
you
And
know.
I'm thinking more like I maybe throughout the week looking for somebody else's stash so I can
Yeah.
take their acorns. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. It was very high tech. You had to find good hiding places to store your acorns so that nobody would get them.
Right. Because as you're telling the story, that's what I'm thinking. Like, how could I get in this acorn battle now and what I would do? So yeah, that's pretty cool.
And
So
the
go ahead.
leaves would fall on the ground too. And so that was our parents' way of making us clean up the leaves or to be able to find the acorns better.
Right, right.
So it
Uh,
was always, you go out there and you rake up the leaves, and if you want to get the acorns, you can get the acorns. So I mean, we had kids going to the neighbors like that didn't have kids. I'll rake your yard. If I can get your acorns. So
right, right, right. Hey, that's a good strategy. Definitely on the
yeah,
parent side to get everybody engaged and got you out there cleaning up leaves, thinking you're doing one thing, and they
yeah.
getting their part out of it. So hey, go have fun. There you go. There you go. So
And we always had a big garden in our backyard. My dad basically took the whole backyard, and there was only, a border of grass around
mm,
the garden. It was mostly
right.
garden. And so every fall at Halloween, the garden would pretty well be done. And we would have a big bonfire and roast hot
Mm,
dogs and marshmallows. And before the bonfire, all the kids got to come, and we would pull up all the dead plants.
mm,
And, there would still be vegetables on the plants sometimes that, hadn't gotten picked. And so it was a big food fight, to throw whatever you found. And so my dad always encouraged everybody to come out, and we would get so filthy, doing that. But it was a good way to get his garden cleaned up.
right,
And then
right.
we had the big bonfire and had fun. But yeah, our parents were smart like that. They always made things, you knew you were doing a job, but they made it seem like it was more fun than work.
No, and that's a smart strategy. If you make them think they're doing something fun, it don't seem like work, and that's the whole thing. Like some people say, whistle while you work or whatever. All work and no play. I mean, all of those things are coming in, but it's like you're not. You're having fun. You're enjoying yourself, and you don't even realize you've been working the whole time. It's like as you
Yeah.
get older, you be like, wait a minute, I got bamboozled by
Yeah.
you know.
Like,
They
I
was
was
getting
doing
this.
that
They
for
was getting
free.
just doing it for free, but okay. But it's all good. That's great. So I want to take some time real quick, and we're gonna recognize those in the chat. Throw a couple of commercials in here, and then we'll come back and talk about you, Echo.
Okay.
So this is the Iron Sharpton Iron Show. Got Echo on here, living my best life at 60. And so we want to recognize those who are out there. So I see Rudy Farm with autism. Well, Autumn Homestead. Make sure I get it right. So B is in the house. Hello, B. Thank you. L's Endeavors in there. Thank you. Keep going up and make sure Mind Games is in there. I see Mind Games. The source is here. Jared Talks is here. And I want to make sure I don't miss anybody because I see your channel is up as well. So I want to make sure we don't miss anyone. Sharon Jackson's in the house. And hello, Jack. How you doing? And I have with me, of course, Echo. Cat Chill Vlog was here early. So she was here early today. So thank you, Cat, for being in here. And this is the Iron Sharpton Iron Show. I have living my best life at 60. And we want to take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right. Thank you.
Get ready to groove to the rhythm of excitement as We Be Jammin' Live takes you on a thrilling musical adventure. With the spin of the wheel, our talented musicians spin into action, bringing you an unforgettable experience of music, energy, and entertainment. From classic hits to modern tunes, our talented artists will have you singing along and dancing to the beat. So, sit back, relax, and let the music take you on a wild ride. Do you have what it takes to be one of the 5 to be on the next We Be Jammin' Live?
All right, we're back to the Iron Shopping Iron Show. And I have my special guest with me, living my best life at 60. And we also know her as Echo. So, Echo, tell us about your teenage years. How was it growing up as a teenager?
Well, excuse me, I had two tragic things happen to me in my teenage years.
Okay.
Um, First, when I was 14, my best friend was in a gun accident and passed away. And I had known him since we were 2 years old. And his family and my family met when we were both in the hospital with pneumonia. And so our moms kind of bonded while they were in the hospital taking care of us. And they lived in our same neighborhood. And so we grew up, went to church together, went to school together, and became best friends. And unfortunately, he was visiting a friend of his, and they had a shotgun. And the kids were not supposed to mess with it, but of course, they were curious. They didn't know it was loaded, and it accidentally went off.
Mm.
He did pass away. And
Right.
so that was my first real experience with death, with grief. Um, it changed me as a person. I was a very innocent, carefree person until that happened. I had very strong faith in God, but I was very angry at God for a long time because of
Wow.
that. And
Right.
then when I was 18, my dad passed away from cancer,
Mm.
and he had gotten sick and had to have surgery, and he passed away 3 months after he had the surgery. So he didn't suffer, a real long time, but it was very debilitating, his illness. And that was another thing that, I wasn't ready to lose my dad. I wasn't ready to have to, deal with life without him. And a little bit about my dad: he lost both of his parents when he was young. His mom passed away when he was 5, and his dad passed away when he was 14.
Mm.
So he was shuffled from family member to family member, until he was 17, and he went into the army,
Mm.
and he fought in the Korean War. And it was very important to him that when he had a family, that he provided for them, gave them a stable home. I only lived in my childhood home my entire, childhood. We never moved. We always had that security. And he liked to fish and garden, and everything he liked to do, he made sure that he included us and taught us, what he knew about it. He didn't have a son until 6 years after I was born. So I was the one that got to go with daddy all the time. And I
Right.
learned how to fish. We would fish off the bank, off the dock, out in the boat. In the wintertime, we would go ice fishing on the frozen lake.
Mm.
Um, we went camping a lot. He believed in family vacations and big holidays, and he made our childhood good. But you also could tell, once we got a little older, you could tell that a lot of the things that he had us doing were things that he didn't really get to experience as a kid either. So
Right.
it was like the first time, for him to do those things too. But anyway, he was a pipe fitter by trade, and he worked in doing a lot of rebuilding, remodeling of old schools and churches and factories. And that was back before they knew about asbestos.
Okay.
So they were removing the asbestos insulation and redoing all of the, the plumbing and the pipes and all of that. And so he developed lung cancer, not typical lung cancer like from smoking, but asbestos lung cancer,
Right.
which is actually between the outer part of your lining of your chest and your lung. So it comes in between, and it actually takes up the room for your lungs. So it affects your breathing.
Wow. Okay.
Um, but he was 50 years old, and never really went to the doctor. I saw him chop his thumb off with a hatchet, chopping wood, and he put it back on his thumb and went in the house and told my mom he needed a band-aid, put a couple band-aids around it and went back chopping wood, and his thumb was perfectly fine afterwards, you know.
Oh wow.
He just really didn't believe in going to the doctor unless, you know, he absolutely had to. So when he got sick, he didn't know what it was. You know, he
Mm,
didn't know it was cancer. And
right.
um, he didn't want to go to the doctor, but he was really tired and having trouble going to work and trouble doing things that, you know, he normally could do. And so he finally did go. And at first they thought it was pneumonia because on the chest x-ray, that tumor looked like fluid in his lung.
Right. Right.
Then they found out that it was the lung cancer. Anyway, he had, before his surgery, he had cancer in that lung. That was it.
Mm,
3 months afterwards, when he passed away, he had brain cancer, blood cancer, bone cancer, every organ except for one kidney had cancer in it.
oh wow.
So he actually passed away from a blood clot formed in his chest where they took his lung out and it went to his heart and killed him instantly.
Mm,
So cancer didn't kill him. The complication from the surgery killed him. However, if he had lived longer with that cancer, it would have been a horrible, horrible death because
yeah.
he didn't know where he was because he had the brain tumors. So he was totally paralyzed. He did not know what was going on. It was awful. And
Wow.
so, as much as I was glad his suffering was over, I was very mad at God for having taken him. And I didn't
Mm,
understand why God would take people that I loved out of my life like that.
right. Mm,
Now, as an adult, I've learned that sometimes God takes people to prevent them from suffering in the future.
mm,
So he took my dad, you know, early instead of making him suffer through what would have been a horrible, um, could have been several years of suffering. So I'm glad that he did that. He was very merciful in doing that. But again, I was a kid. I was 18. I wasn't ready to not have a dad.
no, I can understand exactly what you're saying in that instance. And one, I want to say my condolences to you through losing your dad. The other part is thanking your dad for his service to our country. You know, fighting in the war, and I'm sure all the other services he did and provided to people throughout, like I said, as a pipe fitter and things like that. And
Hmm.
and as a child growing up, like you said, you had to experience that with him. You had to go through a lot of that. So I could see where it could be confusing in a sense of, why me, why my dad, especially when you have a person like, because you were the oldest child.
No, I
Are you
was
the
the
oldest?
second. I have a sister that's 2 years older, and then I
Okay,
have a brother that's 6 years younger.
right. But you were saying that you got to go and do a lot of the things that
Right. I don't know. I don't really know why. I think maybe I was like my sister behaved a little better than I did with my mom. And so it was more like, well, you take that one with you, you know. But I always wanted to go with my dad, no matter where he was going or what he was doing. I always wanted to go. So
right, right. Well, that's good. That's good. So you did get to learn to fish and to do all of the other things. So did y'all live like on a lake? Because I know you said that it flooded and they did the boat. So was you on a lake or something like that?
we did not live on a lake. I lived about 45 minutes outside of Chicago on the
Mm.
Indiana side. And we were probably 30 minutes from Lake Michigan. And so we went and we fished off of Lake Michigan a lot.
Oh wow. Okay.
But
Yeah.
there were also other lakes that were, you know, closer that we would fish off of too. You know, he liked to catch all kinds of fish.
Right.
So
Right.
we went every, it seemed like every month it was a different fish we were after, you know.
Mm.
So we really had a good time um doing it. Hi Daisy May. I never realized that, you know, the worms were supposed to be yucky to me or, you know, not wanting to handle the fish or anything like that. I never knew. I mean, he just made it look like it was so much fun to do it. So you know.
You did it.
I
Yeah.
did it. I didn't
That's
know. Now I
right.
look back and think, oh my gosh, I was like right there in all that stuff. But it
Yeah.
was fun to me. I liked it.
And I can imagine you enjoy. I could see you enjoying it. So that's cool. That really is cool. And I'm glad you had that memory. And thank you for sharing your teenage memory, even though the unfortunate parts of the things that happened. But I could see that there was all days wasn't bad days. I think you had some good times.
Well, and actually, because of both of those things happening, it made me be very active in my church,
Okay.
because those um, kids in my youth group, they went to school with me. We went to church together. They knew my friend as well. They all knew my dad. So it was very comforting, having them to talk to and to go and do things with. So I really kind of threw myself into going to church and doing those kind of things. So not to be at home, thinking, oh, I'm missing this person or missing my dad or whatever. So I kept myself busy doing that. And I was a straight A student. I loved school, and I really enjoyed, you know, getting my education.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for sharing that. So we want to make sure we acknowledge those who are in the chat, and then we're gonna take another quick break. This is the Iron Sharpton Iron Show. I see we got B in the house, and thank you, B, for being here. Selena the Celestial, thank you for being here. Casey Inspirational Tales is here. Daisy May, hello, Daisy May, hello, and thank you for being here. Els Endeavor is here, and thank you for being here on the Iron Sharpton Iron Show. The Source is in the house. Lashana Success is in here. Thank you, Lashana, for being here. Thank
Hi.
you. Going up and just hit and make sure Mind Games is in the house. And thank you, Mind Games. Jared Talks is here. And the key one, make sure Sharon Jackson is in the house. And if I'm missing anybody, so Rudy Fern with Autism Homestead is here. So hello, Rudy Fern. And I want to make sure so this is the Iron Sharpton Iron Show. We do have our guests living my best life at 60. Also can know her as Echo. And we got some questions for you when I come back. So let's take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Iron Sharpton Iron Show. Again, your host, Big Jack here. You got my guest with me living my best life at 60 and also known as Echo. So, Echo, I know that I'm live. We're using StreamYard as a program, and I'm streaming on Facebook and I'm streaming on YouTube. And I know that you're live also on your channel, and you're using StreamYard as well. You have
No,
StreamYard as a program?
yeah, I'm using your StreamYard. Yes.
Well, using my
I,
StreamYard, but
I normally use Restream.
Restream, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But and I did go to Restream. I was having a little issue with Restream. It wasn't, even though it gave me some things I wanted, but it was taking away some things I needed. So I ended up going back to StreamYard. But one thing I noticed in your chat is that you use Nightbot. So I was thinking about Nightbot, and I know there's probably some people that's out there that's also wondering about Nightbot. So can you explain a little bit about what Nightbot is and how you're using it and how it works?
Sure. Nightbot is a free program that you can get and connect your channel to. You can set up commands for Nightbot to do certain things that you might want it to do, you do have to make it a moderator on your channel so that it can take that, be able to do the things that it needs to do. You can customize your commands. On my channel, I have it where they can drop their link. If they do hashtag echo, it'll automatically drop their channel link. I also have it if they do exclamation point weather and a zip code, or weather and a name of a town, it'll pull up a weather report. I have it set up to drop certain channels throughout the show. I have it drop my email address. It's really nice to be able to put different announcements, things that you just want to have, popping up in your chat as you're live. A lot of people don't like bots because they don't understand how they work and they think they're going to take over your channel. Nightbot can't do anything you don't allow it to do, because you are actually programming it to do the commands of the things that you want it to do. A lot of times people will get talked to by Nightbot if they put a lot of emojis, because Nightbot sees that as spam, and it'll tell you to, knock it off or stop or whatever. And then if you don't stop, Nightbot will time you out. I've never seen Nightbot time anybody out that I didn't want timed out. But it is nice sometimes if you get somebody that, you don't know in your chat who is just playing around, putting a lot of emojis or whatever. Nightbot will, take care of that. The biggest thing is the programming of it. You have to be very specific in how you type your commands. And fortunately, I have found people who have, like, I'll go into a chat and I'll see their Nightbot doing something. I mean, you can even have it ask the chat a question. It can give them a trivia question. It can tell them a joke. I mean, there's just all kinds of things you can program it to do. But what I've done is when I go in somebody's stream, if I see their Nightbot doing something, I'll be like, hey, how do you make it do that?
Right.
And most of the time people will say, oh, I'll email you the command. And then what I do is I keep a list of those commands. So that when somebody says to me, well, how did you make it do that? I'm like, I can email you the command, and then you can set yours up like that. So to me, it's really, it's beneficial to my channel. A lot of people don't like Nightbot, though. I will tell you that. There are a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't like that Nightbot. But I've had good success with it. I've liked it.
I'm saying it looked like, and I want to see, make sure I get the name right. And it came through your channel, so you can help me with the name. Musker, Just Musker was saying, some places Nightbots is smart aleck.
Yes.
I'll say things like, "Oh no, Musker is here." Oh,
right. And you, when you have it drop the channel, I think mine just says, please connect to whoever. But a lot of people have it that it'll, as soon as you make a comment, it'll say, welcome, living my best life at 60. Enjoy your visit, or, something like that. Or it'll make up like a little intro to say about your channel or something, and give your link or whatever. So, I mean, it's very versatile. You can definitely customize it to what you want it to do on your channel. And you can either put them on timers, and that's why mine just keep popping up, because they're on a timer. And so often, hi, Life with Misty, every so often it's going to pop up the next thing. Or you can just have where you and your moderators know the commands, and then as you want things dropped into the stream, you can do the command. So it's very versatile, however you want to use it. The main thing for me is that it has to be a moderator. Right. Of course, you don't want to make it the super moderator. You only want to make the standard moderator. But sometimes people will think it's not working, and it's because it's gotten unmodded. And you just have to go back in and make sure that it is a moderator. so that it'll work. And it also doesn't start right at the very beginning of the stream. So sometimes people will think, oh, well, it's not working because it didn't do it, at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
And you have to type it in, like the person has to type in hashtag echo with no space in between the hashtag and the E. And so sometimes when they do the weather one, they leave a space or something and it won't work.
It won't pick it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've tried it. I've tried Nightbot, and some of the things that it was somebody typed everything in caps, and it was like going after them because they capped everything, and I was like, and I didn't know enough about it, so I just took it off. I basically blocked Nightbot while I was on the show because I didn't want to,
Yeah.
like,
But you can go in there and the commands that are already in there, you can take them out or turn them off. You can pick and choose what you want to have it do. And then, like I was saying before too, there's a giveaway tool on there. You can have it play music. It can keep track of your top commenters, different things like that. I've never really studied it enough to do any of those kind of things yet. I just, do it for the things that I want to do it. But it's very easy to go in and change, like if you have certain people's channels being dropped and you want to, change it up for a different program or whatever, you can do it very easily. So.
And the one thing you did mention, it's a free program. It's a free program.
It is free. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's not something that you download.
Right.
You just sign into it, connect it to your channel, and that's it. So that's a good thing that you don't have to download it and it's not taking up space in your computer.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that. Now, thank you for giving us a little bit of insight on what the Nightbot is all about and how did that work. So let's just try to recognize some people. One, I do see Nightbots in the chat for everybody else. Endeavor's there, the sources there, listening from behind. So for those who don't know, so I'm just throwing this out there. This is something that we learned. I know I learned it from our friends in the Philippines. So when they're watching a show, but they're not commenting in the chat, they put those YouTube symbols like the source has, if you look in the chat now, just saying that I'm listening, but I'm behind the scenes. So I'm here, but I'm listening. So that was just a way to let them know that I'm here, I'm supporting you, but I'm doing it from behind the scenes. I'm not going to be interacting in the chat. But that's just another way to just say I'm here. Because a lot of times we do a lot of chat hopping, go from here to here. But it's like, instead of me, saying anything or letting anyone know I'm there, I'm letting you know I'm here, but I'm listening from behind. So thank you, Source, for being here. Desi's in the house. Thank you, Desi. Rudy Fern, thank you for being there and being here. There's one that I can't see this name. What's this?
PJ Swish.
PJ Swish. Okay, got you. So PJ Swish is here. Thank you. I seen that the Heavy Hitters is in the house. So hey, Heavy Hitters, how you doing? DK Nico is here. So hello, DK Nico, and I thank you for being here. L's Endeavors. B is in here. That's Belinda from what is it? Okay, I forgot her dang block now. So, but Belinda's in the house, and thank you for being here. Desi, we already said Desi was here, and thank you. Life with Misty, thank you for being here. Making sure we go up. Amelia loves Ariel, and thank you for being here. I know Sharon Jackson's in the house. Captain Johnson's in the house. Making sure Mind Games in the house. The Source is in the house. LaShonda Success is here. We got Casey Inspirational Tales is here. So we're having a good time. Rodney and Melissa involving. Okay. They're here, and thank you for being here on the Iron Shopping and Iron Show. So there is a giveaway going on at the end of the month. So if you don't know, if you see the chat going across the bottom, you've seen it in the chat group, but they're the ticker. So if you type in hashtag grow and glow together, that all you have to do to be entered into the giveaway. There'll be 2 prize giveaways at the end of the month during the We Be Jamming live show. So you don't have to be present to win, but at the same time, you do have to put that in. I either see it in the chat during this show or after the show, but I need to see that hashtag grow and glow together, and that gets you entered into the giveaway. So we're here with my guest, living my best life at 60, and also known as Echo. So Echo, you said you was in Indiana and you went to Georgia. What made you, or what was the reason, or why did you go to Georgia? What was the move?
Okay, first I want to say hi to Nico and to Create and Relate. Welcome, y'all. And also, Amelia had a question for me about a
Okay.
Disney princess.
Okay.
She said, I don't know Echo personally, but my question for her is, who is your favorite Disney princess? And her channel is Amelia Loves Ariel. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming Ariel would be her favorite.
Uh,
Mine, I'm going to go with Cinderella.
Cinderella.
I never really thought about it, but I think Cinderella would be my favorite.
Cinderella is a good one. It's a good one. 100%. All right.
And okay, so you asked me why did I move from Indiana to Georgia?
Well, you mentioned that it was because of the snow
Yes,
as you got older, but was that the
well, I was getting married, and both my husband and I had grown up in Indiana. We were both kind of tired of the cold weather. And it's really different. As a kid, it's fun. You get to play in it, you get snow days off of school. Unfortunately, as an adult, they don't give you snow days. They don't care where you live or what you have to do to get to work. You just come to work. And I would get stranded at different places, so you would carry a change of clothes with you all the time, and if you went somewhere and there was a storm coming through, you might end up being there for a couple of days. So it wasn't as much fun as an adult. So my husband's sister lived in Orlando, Florida, and we got the bright idea that we would move down south somewhere warmer, and we were going to go to Orlando, Florida. But my husband did heating and air conditioning work, and there was a lady that worked at a company here in South Georgia from our area. And so they were having trouble getting people to work here. And so she put a want ad in the paper up where we lived. And so about 2 weeks before the wedding, we saw the advertisement. And I was teasing when I said to my fiance, we could live in Georgia. And I knew nothing about Georgia.
Oh no.
And the next day, he called the ad and talked to the company and made arrangements that the day after we got married, we would be in Georgia. So our honeymoon was moving to Georgia.
Okay.
And we got here and stayed in a hotel, and he went to work, and it was in November, and down south, it's not cold, but when it drops below 60, people think it's cold. And so he took call, and he was gone all the time from November until about March. Every night he would work all day, and then every night he would have night call. And we would literally go to people's houses, and they would have their oven open and like the gas oven going, trying to keep the house warm, and wearing, jackets. And it was 50 degrees, 50 degrees to us. We're still in shorts and t-shirts down here because we came from, 20 below up north, So it wasn't cold to us. It was very nice weather, here for us. But anyway, so that's how, and we were going to go on and go to Orlando, but you know how that is. Once you start working and you find a place to live, and then the days just seem to get away from you. So then it was going to be, we'll just stay here and see how we like it. And then after a while, this becomes your home. So I've been here now, I think 39 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So was that your first home or home on your own outside of?
No, I actually lived in a townhouse with a girl that I went to X-ray school with, and the townhouses have the kitchen and living room on the bottom, and the bedrooms are upstairs. And ours was kind of a sunken in living room, and so we had a patio and it rained really bad the week before we were supposed to move in, and the drain in the patio was clogged, and so all the
Uh,
water came into the apartment instead of draining. And so we show up with our moving truck and furniture, and the whole bottom floor of the apartment is completely flooded. And so
no.
we had to have everything moved upstairs and make do until we could get the carpets and everything dried out.
Right. Wow.
So it was not a good first experience
Mm.
of moving into a place, but I was 20. I wanted to move out of my mom's house. I was ready, I thought, to be on my own. So
Yeah, I mean, and I guess any time you move on your own and the adventures of things that happen, it's like it's a bad experience. I guess you would look at it in that way, but at the same time, you're being exposed to being on your own. These are things that's going to happen. These are things because really you just call the landlord or whatever and say, "Hey, I need to come fix this." But when you got the moving truck there, it's like,
yeah, and
yeah,
it was,
yeah,
and we couldn't go back to our parents' homes because we had packed our furniture in the moving truck,
right,
to
right,
come to the apartment. So
yeah,
it was kind of like you either go ahead and move in upstairs and hope for the best, or you don't move in. And we had
right,
to
right.
get the stuff out of the truck. You couldn't keep it in there forever, so it was really an experience of us, because we didn't want to call our parents and say, oh my gosh, this is what happened.
Yeah,
So we made
yeah,
the best of it. But that
yeah,
was my first apartment, but it was with a roommate, so I wasn't
right.
totally by myself.
No, I mean sometimes it's just the experience of getting out. A lot of times, most people their first experience is maybe when they leave home to go to college. So I'm living in a dorm or something like that. But
Hmm.
that's not the same as when you're in a place where you're paying the rent and the light bills and all the utilities and all of those things, buying food and all that. That was a big difference for me. So that was one of the things I didn't experience that until I got out of the military. Because my college experience, even though you're on your own, but you still got the school giving you some things to help you and this and that. But then when I went in the military, they gave me quarters. They gave me government housing and things like that because of my family and all. So I still never experienced having to pay the bills. And then when I got out the military is when the reality hit me. Oh, this is what it's like to have a paycheck and everything and everybody wants something before you even get a chance to even look at it. It was already gone. It's like, man, this is an experience. So thank you for sharing that part with us. So, and sorry you had to start with the flood though. Yeah.
Well, and this was a girl that I thought I knew, pretty well, and we had, talked about, we signed a lease, and we were going to be there for a year, and probably 2 months into the lease, she met someone,
Mm,
and she was never home. And then by 4 months into it, she was staying with her new friend, and I was there by myself, which was okay because she still paid her share of the rent.
right.
But eventually, I had to get a smaller apartment by myself that I could afford on my own.
Right.
So just be really careful when you're getting a roommate, because if they can't pay or don't pay, you still have to be able to pay.
Yeah.
So, you know.
That's one of the things I share with my kids and anyone, but I definitely share with my boys. Be able to afford it on your own. So
Mhm.
because if that other person doesn't or not able to do their part, then you can still handle the business. So make sure that when you go in there, you're able to pay for everything by yourself. And just because you just don't know, it don't even have to be the roommate left or whatever, losing a job or anything could happen that now you're on your own. And it's also good that your roommate can do it on their own. So if you can't supply, then that way that you don't lose the house or whatever. So, but I
Mhm.
appreciate that. So now give me a advice. Your 30-year-old self, not yourself, but a 30-year-old comes to you and you could give them some advice throughout your life. What advice would you give a 30-year-old right now?
I think the biggest thing that I have learned by not doing it, is that I kind of lost my own identity when I became a wife and a mother and an employee. Um, I didn't keep my own interests up. I put my husband and child's interests and needs in front of my own. And when my marriage ended after 29 years, something I hadn't counted on happening. And then, of course, my child grew up and went off on her own. And then I was by myself and I didn't even know myself. I didn't know what I liked or didn't like, or, what I wanted to do, because I had spent so many years taking care of other people.
Mm.
So I guess my biggest advice is, even though you fall in love and you get married and you have a family and you go to work a job or you have a career, always make sure you keep you. Put God first in your life, but make sure that your needs and your desires are met, because one day you might be alone and you
Mm.
might have to recreate your life. And it's hard to do it when you don't know yourself and when you're so reliant on somebody else, making, not only making decisions, but you caring about the decisions for them and not even caring about, like, I would never buy clothes for myself. I made sure my daughter had everything she needed. I made sure my husband had what he needed. And then if there was anything, later on, I might get something for myself. But it was never my thought in my head, oh, I need to get this for myself. It was always, for everybody else. So it was hard for me when I was on my own. And even when I moved into this apartment that I live in now, I didn't know how I wanted to decorate it. I didn't know what kind of furniture I wanted. I didn't really know, because I had let myself take a back seat to everything.
Mm.
So just make sure you put yourself first. You're the most important person in your life, and then everybody else.
Wow, hey, that's that's definitely enlightening. I mean, definitely good advice, and I appreciate that. I'm saying create and relate is down there, and uh, and you get a couple of comments. A lot of different comments are coming up. So create and relate says such true words. I still put myself last, but at least now I'm on the list. Never used to be, and that's. I thank you for sharing that, because it's something that you miss sometimes, that you're not, you're thinking about others so much that you don't even realize that you haven't even thought about yourself. You haven't even thought about what you need to do, or like you say, what do you like? Who are you? And that's huge. That is huge. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, and
Really.
like we were talking about on your mom's birthday
Mm.
show, the differences of, how men and women are treated on jobs and things like that. When I was growing up, I can't remember at school a career counselor saying, oh, well, these are options of jobs you could get or careers you could have. I remember them, preparing us to become wives and mothers. And it wasn't so much about, what kind of career we had or what kind of job we did. And so even my parents made me feel like, that was my goal in life, was to get married and have a family. And so, you put your focus on those kind of things. And then you think, okay, if I'm going to be a good wife, I have to do certain things. And then you don't have time to do everything. So put yourself on the back burner and just go on about it. And then once you have children, you really don't have time to do anything but care for those children and provide a home. And I always worked as well as my husband and maintained the home and took care of my daughter. So it was very easy just to let things go. And unfortunately, my health is one of the main things that I let go.
Mm.
And it wasn't until my granddaughter was on her way coming that I realized, hey, you might live longer if you got healthier and took care of yourself.
Right.
And I really wanted to be here to experience being a grandmother and having that time with my daughter and granddaughter. And so I totally changed my life and my outlook on health, um, in order to do that. So now I'm very big about it's not too late. It doesn't
Mm,
matter how old you are. You can go back to school. You can, change your fitness, your food. You can change anything you want to change about yourself
mm,
anytime. You don't have to, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, when I retire, I'm going to travel. When I retire, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." You might not make it to retire.
all right.
You need
Mm,
to live your life now. Do
right.
those things that you want to do and that are important to you. Do them now.
Mm.
Don't wait until you retire, because some of us don't get that chance,
No, I understand that. I
you
understand that.
know?
So one of the questions that came up, if you don't mind sharing, it was
Mhm.
how was you able to make that transition? What was the some of the things that you did? I know it was you were saying that you had to you had to realize, is I didn't know who I was. So how did you transition? What was the what was some of the things that you did to help with the transition?
I think the main thing I had to learn was how to set boundaries,
Mm,
because I was so used to putting everybody else first. I say I was a people pleaser, and you have to learn how to say no. And you have to really only say yes to the things you really want to do. And it's hard to do that, because the first thing that, when somebody asks you to do something, the first thing that you think of is, oh, yes, I want to make them happy. I want them to like me. I want them to be happy with me. So I'm going to say yes. But maybe it's something you really don't want to do.
mm,
So you have to learn how to set those boundaries. And the hardest people to set boundaries with is your family, because they are so used to you letting them treat you a certain way, so that when you find your voice and you actually stand up and say, "No, I don't want to do that," they take it personally that you're,
mm,
not wanting to be with them or do something for them. And it has nothing to do with that. You just have to learn how to, put those healthy boundaries in place. And I had a really hard time with my daughter, because all of my change started after my divorce. And
mm,
not only was she dealing with the fact that we got divorced, but she was also having to deal with me changing and with her becoming an adult. And so
right.
there was a lot of things going on. And we really had to work through a lot of things. And now we are both adults and we both have our boundaries in place. We are very close and we get along great, but it's because we choose to be close and get along.
Gotcha.
Sometimes kids will, they'll surprise you. You spend all your life, taking care of them and raising them and giving up things for them, and then one day they're grown and they decide, well, I don't even need you in my life.
Mm,
So it is something, but you have to make that choice. And I had to make a big choice when my daughter met someone and started seriously dating, and they were heading towards marriage and everything. I had a choice to make. I could either accept it and be a part of it, or not be a part of it. And then I might lose my daughter forever. So even though it wasn't necessarily like my dream for her at first, it
mm,
was like, well, it's her life, first of
right.
all, and she's got to do what makes her happy. And I was able by then to be able to say, don't do it for anybody else, do it because this is what you want, and do it for yourself.
Right.
So I was, able to help her with those kind of things. But we have very clear boundaries, and you have to respect other people's boundaries as well. And I have a lot of faith in God, and God has helped me so much in understanding why things happen sometimes. I thought I was working towards retirement and going to get old with my husband. I had no clue that I was going to be a single mother um, that late in life.
Mm,
But it happens.
no.
And it's not always something that you did or something that you didn't do or something that you can fix.
Right.
Sometimes it's the other person has issues and has to fix themselves. And so you I was always the one that said, well, that'll never happen to me. That'll never happen to me, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't
Well,
never say never.
never say never. That's for sure. That we can never say the words never because
No,
just as fast
never.
as you say it, here we go. So, Echo, this has been it's 1 hour. We've already completed an hour on the Iron Sharpening Iron show, and it went by fast. I mean, it was a good conversation. I truly thank you. Do you have time to go to the after show?
Sure.
Oh, okay. So, for those who are out there in the chat, we truly thank you for being on the Iron Sharpening Iron show. I have my guests here, living my best life at 60. Echo. It's a really good conversation going on. We're going to go on and into the after show, and then of course in the after show we get a little deeper in the conversation. We'll pull the wheel out, got little things on it. But at the same time, if you have not put in the chat yet, hashtag grow and glow together. That is how you get your name entered into the end of the month prize giveaway. And it will be announced during the We Be Jamming live show, which is March the 29th, Saturday, March 29th at 9 p.m. is when the show starts. So for everyone that's out there, we thank you. And we're going to go into the after show right after this short commercial break. And we'll be right back. So thank you for being here with me on the Iron Sharpening Iron show.
Get ready to groove to the rhythm of excitement as We Be Jammin' Live takes you on a thrilling musical adventure. With a spin of the wheel, our talented musicians spin into action, bringing you an unforgettable experience of music, energy, and entertainment. From classic hits to modern tunes, our talented artists will have you singing along and dancing to the beat. So, sit back, relax, and let the music take you on a wild ride. Do you have what it takes to be one of the 5 to be on the next We Be Jammin' Live?
All right, we're back to the Iron Sharpening Iron show, but right now we're in the after show, so I dropped that up there, the after show. And this is where we get to have I would say a little bit more fun, but we get a little deeper in some of the conversations, some of the things that you were talking about. We just don't want to leave leave those in the chat hanging, and also, I know that you were saying a lot of things that they got a lot of comment towards the end, and a lot of it was that transitioning from one being married to not being married. The other part is, being a 2-parent household to being a single parent household. And so those are a lot of changes. Those are a lot of changes that you went through. And one of the questions that did come up was, how did you make that change? What was the thing, or what was the how was you able to do it? And you did point out a lot of good things that will maybe help somebody transition if they had to, because it's needed. It's needed because a lot of times we just don't know how. How did you do it? And it's not a one size fit all, because everybody doesn't have. But I thank you that you dropped that piece in, that don't always take the blame. It's not all about you. It's not something that you did. It's not even something that you can fix. I was divorced and remarried, so I have been through the process of being divorced and then remarried, and I struggled too when I went through the divorce part, because of the fact that it's like, what did I do? Not so much what did I do, but I was more upset about I couldn't fix it, and that was where I had my biggest hang up was I couldn't fix the situation. I wanted to, what could I do to fix it? But everything is not to be fixed. Everything is a reason for everything that happens, and you just have to, be ready and roll as they say, roll with the punches as they come. So, but thank you for sharing your story with us on that. All right. So, Echo, we do have some that might be coming in. I know we got the link. I dropped the link. So if we get, normally I have my one partner come up here with me on the after show, but if he comes, it'd be good. If he don't, it's all right. We're going to be here. Okay. But I want to spin the wheel. So I'm going to bring the wheel out. So just, okay. And the only reason I throw the wheel in there, just to make it a little bit fun, a little interesting, but I would drop the wheel just to see if we can get it on here. So let's see. Get me up here. And we're going to bring it up. And there we go. So we got the wheel going, and let me get it straight for us. And it's not as in-depth as it was the last time you seen the wheel, but it's little things, because we just want to get a little bit to know. I want to know a little bit more about to Echo. So some of these things you can share with me, and we can go through. So we got the wheel spinning and see what we get, and as it come up. All right. So the first one was pets. So I
Well,
got a question for you. Do you have pets, or have you ever had pets, or anything like that? So yes.
I am a huge animal lover, and I
Oh,
have
wow.
always had some sort of pet. And I allowed my daughter to have just about any kind of pet throughout her childhood as well. I currently have a 12-year-old Chiweenie, which is a Dachshund and a Chihuahua mix. Her name is Chloe, and she has a YouTube channel, and
Oh,
it is Chloe the Chiweenie. And she is my emotional support dog. She knows all my secrets, but she doesn't tell anyone.
mm.
And I probably love her almost as much as I love my daughter or my granddaughter.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And then we do got a guest that's coming on, so let me get him on the stage, and we're gonna continue with this. So 1 second, got Walt coming on the stage.
Okay.
Hello, Walt. How you doing?
Man, how are you? Hello, Echo.
Hi,
Living your best life. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Hey, look, we're right in that same age range. I'm 61, so hey, congratulations to you. It's great, isn't it?
It is. I
Yeah.
was so scared at 59, turning 60. No other year bothered me as I was aging, but for some
Hmm.
reason, 60 just seemed so old.
Mm.
And now I'm
Yeah.
62, and my 60s have been great.
Yeah.
60 is the new 40, right?
Yeah,
All right. Well, I haven't gotten there yet, so I don't know, but I'm hearing the same thing from other people that's reached that age group. So all right. So Walt, Echo just told us about. He just fell off. He's trying to get his camera straight. You know how that go when you first come on. So we'll let him come back. So I don't have. Let me say we have pets. We have two labs, and they're sisters. So they have a YouTube channel as well. So theirs is Rose and Lily, but we have two labs, and they're sisters. They're two litters apart from each other, but they have the same parents. So that was one of the things. So one's a yellow lab and one's a black lab, and so those are the fur babies in the house, and they're really good pets to have. And I know in Ariel asked a question there: do you have any fish? So have you ever had any fish?
I have had plenty of fish aquariums over the years. I
Mhm.
don't currently have one, but I love a fish aquarium,
Mm.
especially when you can turn the lights low and just have the lights of the fish tank going and sit there and just watch the movement of the fish. I love that.
All right. Wow. Wow. Walt, you got any pets or?
So tough one, man. So I never had pets as a kid, well, other than fish, as a kid because well, I had a cat, but I couldn't have dogs because we lived in an apartment. So my aunt always had dogs, so her dog was my dog. Then as an adult, I worked shift work, so it was kind of tough because I was working one off three. But my entire married life, 29 years, I've had a pet, and usually it's a lab. And just recently, my most recent lab, I had to put her down about 2 years ago, but my next door neighbors adopted her brother, and I adopted my dog. And so they were brother and sister, same litter, next door, doggy gate, the whole 9 yards, never
Oh,
separated. When they traveled, my dog was with them. When I traveled, my dog was was with them, and vice versa. But I had to put mine down about 2 years ago, maybe about a year and a half ago.
Mm.
So it was tough, and I got to tell you, I've been through it unfortunately 3 times in 29 years. But man, I mean, it's the best feeling in the world to be a pet owner, and the worst feeling in the world when you have to when they go. So I find myself now just basically petting everyone's dog, and my neighbor's dog still lives next door, but he's getting older. So, but we hang out, and pets are good therapy. Very, very,
very
very good
good.
therapy. I
Very
mean, it's
good
just nice to be able
therapy.
to, and even as a kid, to be able to take care of to be responsible for something else is a good way to teach kids responsibility and walking them and feeding them in the whole 9 yards. So yeah, that's my pet story. So I'm just sitting there listening to you, kind of envious, man. With the pet situation right now.
Well,
Well, I've
yeah, go
decided when something happens to Chloe, I'm going to foster
Right.
dogs for the
There you
Humane
go.
Society or
Hmm.
whatever, because I don't want to start with a puppy again, because I don't know how long I would, have it.
Right.
But already have arrangements with my daughter that if something happens to me, she will take Chloe and take care of Chloe the rest of her days. And I just feel like I would like to do that. I would like to foster and help misunderstood dogs find good homes.
That's
ahead.
uh
So,
that's a
yeah.
very important thing. I got all of my dogs from Lab Rescue, and like each breed has a rescue organization
Hmm.
affiliated with that breed, but they always need foster care because they can't just keep them in the shelter. Their whole job is
Right.
to rescue these dogs from the shelter. So they always need foster parents, foster owners or whatever. So that's a good one. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it takes a special person to do that. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. It's a lot of work, but it's like to be able to be responsible for something else or someone else, especially something else, a pet that really appreciates you. I heard your conversation earlier about
Yeah. Well, I mean, they
basically
love you unconditionally.
unconditional love. Yeah, basically
It's like
putting
the
your mask
saying,
on
I
first.
wish I was the person my dog thinks I am,
Oh yeah,
like they think we're the, just the
yeah,
absolute
yeah,
best.
yeah,
And my dog, she really doesn't think she's a dog, and
yeah,
she acts like, no matter if I've been gone 5 minutes or 5 days, she's
yeah,
just as excited, to
yeah,
see me. And every morning when we wake up, it's like, oh my goodness, you're still here.
yeah,
She she gives me so much love and comfort. She really
yeah,
does.
And
yeah.
and I believe a lot of people don't understand that part of it too, because like I said, we got the two at home and they're still babies. So it's like when we're going somewhere, or if there's an event, and it's like we can't leave the puppies. The puppies,
Right.
well,
Mhm.
you can just leave them, put them in. Like, no, that's like leaving your baby at home for four or
Yeah.
5 hours and no one looking after them. So, and
Right.
a lot of people don't actually realize
Yeah.
or understand that that's my baby. That's my baby. And I'm learning to get there. So don't I'm not there. So trust me, I'm learning to get there. But because of that, and because of they're here, and I'm listening to what y'all saying, it's so true. Because I can walk out to get something out of my car, and I come back and like, hey, you're back. What's up? I'm like, I
Yeah.
just walked out
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
door, and they're
Well,
super excited
when
about
we
you.
went through the hurricane last September, we didn't have power for over a week. And
Mm,
after about 4 days, I was like, we're going to need a shower and do some laundry, and, we're going to have to do something. So my sister lives in Florida, and she was like, I'll find you a room. You just go on, drive up the road and we'll find a room. Well, my biggest thing was I have to be able to
That's
take Chloe with me
absolutely.
because she's not staying here. If it's unfit for me to stay,
There you go.
it's unfit for her to stay.
There
mm,
you go.
And it was amazing. I mean, everything was booked because of the hurricane
The
anyway,
hurricane, right?
but it was amazing at how few pet friendly hotels there were, you
mm.
know. And I said, that something's got to change with that because a
Right.
Yeah.
lot of people just don't go on vacation
That's true.
or go places because they've got the animals.
Mhm.
And I was very adamant about it that if she can't go, I'm not going. So luckily we did find a place where she got to go. And she's 12, and
Yeah.
some days she acts like she's 12. But when we
Hmm.
were on that trip, she acted like she was a puppy. She was so excited to go walk around outside someplace new and
Hmm.
explore and everything. It was the best trip for her. She came home acting like she was, 5 years younger. So
Wow.
it was a good trip for her.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, it's a great it's a great feeling. I would like to get another puppy, but now I've been spoiled. So my next door neighbors, all of their kids, the last kid is in college now, so they're empty nesters, and so I wouldn't have the same level of support because I got used to for 12 years having that level of support
Right.
always,
Mm.
taking care of their dog or them taking care of mine. So that's something to think about. But I tell you what, it's just nothing like it. I tell my wife all the time. I said I think I'm getting close to getting ready to be ready to get another dog. But vacations and stuff like that, you gotta think about all of that.
Right.
Absolutely,
So,
100%.
so now I know this is controversial. So in a sense, so is it getting a puppy like from a breeder or adopting? Which one do you believe? I know some people are like you should adopt. There's so many puppies out there, so many animals that need a good home, but here you're going to a breeder to get your dog or whatever. So, or any pet. So, what do you believe on that?
I've done both.
Mm,
I've had full-blooded German Shepherds. I've had full-blooded Chihuahuas that, were AKC registered, had
mm,
papers that I paid big money for. And I've had mutts,
mm,
that I rescued off the side of the road,
mm,
or that I, had a friend that their dog got out and had puppies, and I got one of the puppies. I really think it depends on what you intend to do. If you want to breed the animal, you should make sure it's full blooded so that
mm,
you don't pass down any problems. But if you just want a puppy to love and take care of, then I don't have any problem with mixed breed ones. I don't like people getting an animal and then not realizing the responsibility and not taking
right.
care of it.
Good
And
point.
if you have a child and you think you're getting the pet for the child, unless that child is out on their own in their own home, that is your pet as well.
Mm,
Because
Absolutely.
there will be so many times in their life that they forget about that pet, and you still have to make sure it's taken care of. I've had a grand dog and a grand cat, and I have watched both of them when my daughter has gone on vacations and things like that. So, you have to make sure that you're set up to take care of that animal.
mm,
And I think that's why there's so many people get so many pets for Christmas. And then by springtime, the shelter is full of
right.
these puppies that,
Yeah.
didn't turn out to be the best pets in the world.
A lot
So,
of a lot of
but,
shelters on my end during that Christmas season, they don't even let you adopt. And like
Hmm.
I've gotten all of my dogs through lab rescue. So the second and third time was no big deal. But the first time, hey man, I thought I was adopting a kid
Yeah,
because when they come up for the house visit and is the yard fenced in and do you have this? And luckily I was working shift work. My wife is self-employed, so we were able to be there, because we were getting a puppy. And as far as your question, Big Jack, to your point, so when you adopt from lab rescue, all of the dogs have to be spayed or neutered. That's part of the contract because they're trying to keep the population down. Hey man, even if you go get a dog from a breeder, a dog still needs a home. I get it, but it's like you said, it's all depends on what you're going to do. But it's a lot of work, and when I meet people or talk to people and they're saying they're going to get like my neighbor had an Akita. And I'm like, it's a nice little fur ball, but understand this dog needs exercise, this dog needs walks, it needs to get out, and it's not fair to the dog. So you have to be mindful of that. And then it's about a 15-year commitment, right? Can we say
mm,
that? That's about 15-year commitment, right? And we're
exactly.
talking
And
vet
I think
bills
that
and vet and everything, veterinarian bills and food, and it's a commitment. So it's not something you just do on a notion, on a whim.
and
That's
I
true.
think that's one of the biggest problems is that somebody wants a cute little lap dog and they don't realize it's a bigger breed of dog that needs that exercise,
Yeah.
or they want a dog that they can go run with and
Hmm.
that kind of thing, and they get a couch potato dog. So I really think you have to do your research and find
Yeah.
out about the different breeds before you pick one. But don't do like I did. Don't go and look at the puppies ahead of time, because then you fall in love with them, and then it's like no matter what happens, you're bringing that puppy
You
home
bring
with
the
you.
puppy home.
So
Yeah, yeah. You already know. It's like going to the car. It's like going to get a new car, and they say, "Hey, just take it home for the night and drive it tonight and see what you like." You know
yeah,
it's your car at that point. So
yep.
never. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
great
no,
thing.
that's very good point. So now I'm gonna ask one more thing on. Well, we could still keep diving into it, but how do you feel about pet insurance? So should you have pet insurance, or is it one of those, just a regular vet visits is enough, or do you recommend pet insurance?
Well, I'm an advocate for insurance only because I've had to use insurance in my lifetime. So I believe in all kinds of insurance. I do not personally have pet insurance right now.
Mm,
But my dog, if she needed something, I don't care if I had to take a loan or borrow from family or what I had to do, I would do whatever I had to do for her. But I don't believe in doing things unnecessarily just because somebody tells you that it needs this or needs that. Get a second opinion. I would never let my dog suffer and be in pain or anything like that. But I had a vet tell me that she's going to need knee surgery only because of the type of dog that she is. There's nothing actually wrong with her knees yet. But just like us, we're going to age and we might need knee surgery someday.
right,
But that doesn't mean she needs it right now. And that was my first question. Is she in pain? And he was like, no, she seems to be fine, but, be thinking about that. And that's the thing. You have to decide what are your limits? What are you willing to do for the
mm,
animal
right,
if the need came up, you
mm,
know?
I
Yeah.
got
So,
I've
and
never
if the
had
insurance is affordable and it would allow you to take better care of the animal, then I think it would be a good thing.
you. Okay, good
it's
point.
been like 12, 13 years since I had my last when I got my puppy. But now if I got another one, I probably would get pet insurance because it's just more. It just makes more sense at this point. Then not so much because it was still new, and the one before that definitely it was just a new thing. But trust me, at the end of this deal, it can get expensive, and then
Hmm.
your emotions are running high. But you said something, Echo, that made a lot of sense. And hey, Big Jack, I know this is kind of you say controversial, but we treat our animals at the end of their lives better than we treat humans sometimes. I mean, just because we're humans, but you would not let a dog, a horse, a cat suffer the way people suffer, humans suffer going out the door. And I mean, I get it. I understand you just can't, like Dr. Kevorkian, you just can't put everybody to sleep. But when you think about, we don't want to see them suffer. But, and I heard you, unfortunately, my condolences to you about your dad. You said, God took your dad so he wouldn't have a miserable life. So, it's just, when you put it in that perspective, it really makes you think about what it really means and really puts the urgency on us, on me, especially the way I look at it, to enjoy the life that we have because before you know it, it can be gone. It can all be gone. So you got to enjoy it. And like you said, a pet, if that brings you joy, that's what you have to do.
That's
So
right.
yeah.
And also, hello, Miss Norma. Welcome. I also have had the conversation, with my daughter about what I want to have happen. If I
Mhm.
was to get debilitated or, if my mind is still there, then yes, keep me alive forever.
Mhm.
If my
Mm,
mind is gone and I don't know and I'm just a burden, then let me go.
Mhm.
So and she all the time, oh, you're morbid. You're not going anywhere. I don't want to talk about it. And I'm like, no, it gives me peace knowing I've told you my wishes.
Right. There
Now,
you go.
at the end of the day, you're going to do whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you can handle, but I'll be gone, so I won't care. But
Yeah.
I have to know that I've let you know my wishes and what I want to have happen. And I think that's what a lot of, parents, we don't tell our children. And then the
Yeah.
child is left
Yeah.
trying to decide, what would mom want me to do? And
Right.
what should I do? Like I've told my daughter, I want to be cremated. I don't want to be buried.
Yeah.
She's going to get the jewelry that you can have made out of the ashes
Hmm.
and have something made for herself and for my granddaughter. Um, And so, I mean, I haven't actually gone and paid for my
Mhm.
cremation and everything, but I have everything planned. I don't want a
Right.
funeral. I want a celebration. You
There you
know,
go.
it's like I've let her know all these things because I don't want to leave that burden on her. And this is kind of off topic, but not really.
Mhm.
Talking about taking care of your own life and making your own decisions.
Right.
Your kids don't want all your junk that you've saved over the years, you know? If your kid has their own home and has their own furniture and
Come get your stuff.
everything, they have their own dishes and all of that, they don't want your stuff. So, as you don't want it anymore, don't give it to your kids. Donate it, help somebody else out that's just getting started, something like that. Don't save stuff so that when you're gone, your kids have got to clean out your home and then they feel guilty if they get rid of all these little
Mhm.
trinkets that you've
Right.
saved over the years for them.
Right.
Okay. My
Right.
daughter is very good at telling me, I don't want that. And I'm like,
Right.
well, okay, then don't ask me to help you get one later. If you don't want the one I already have, then you're on your own. But at least she's being honest with me. And I'm not
Right.
sitting here, saving everything because one day she's going to want all this stuff that I have, you know.
Echo,
So,
you make go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, a
Yeah.
question came up. I was just on it. So, and because you put it out there, Echo, about the being cremated. So it was saying,
Mm.
what happens to the remaining ashes? So, is there anything that you've already told your
Oh,
family to
well,
do with them?
like I said, I grew up on Lake Michigan. I love Lake Michigan. I would not mind it if they put some in Lake Michigan. I know a lot of places you can't just go and dump ashes. So, you know, if they were able to do that, that would be great. Um, I don't really care what they do with them afterwards. I know now we kept my dad's ashes, and eventually buried them, and there's room there to bury my mom as well, when she goes. So I guess if I was still married and we had a cemetery plot, maybe I'd want to be buried there, but no, not really. I kind
Uh,
of just,
uh,
you know.
Now, the thing is, you mentioned Lake Michigan and other places. You can do it. You just got to make sure you get permission from either the county or the state to say, "Hey, I'm gonna bury ashes." And what they
Yeah,
want you to do is put it in an urn that's biodegradable, so it actually dissolve in the water and it'll go. So there are some procedures that go with it. We did experience that a few years back with my mother-in-law, and so we took her to Seattle, Washington. There's a big lake out there, and so we went
mhm,
through it. Matter of fact, our first lab was also buried at the same time, so that biodegradable. But my wife did all the work, but they had to get all the permissions to say, hey, we're going to actually bury life and transporting the person. So now you got to earn, and to get on the airplane, you got to let them know and have the paperwork saying that this is an urn with ashes and this is the purpose, so that they'll let you through security with it, because
right.
it's they can't open it, but
Right.
have all the paperwork so they can't open it, so they can trust
And
that it is what it is.
and I know when my dad passed away, and of course this was, let me think, I'm 62 and I was 18, so we're talking what, 44 years ago.
Honestly.
Um, he died in Illinois because he was actually at a hospital in Chicago. And so he was going to be cremated, and they had to actually cremate him in Illinois and then bring the ashes across state line. So we
Mm.
couldn't bring his body to Indiana and have it cremated.
Wow.
So I'm sure things have changed in 40 plus years, but there are rules and laws and all of that. My biggest thing about wanting to be cremated is because I don't, I would rather know my soul and spirit is gone and what is left, it doesn't matter, but I don't want it to be um, the expense of
Mm.
a casket and a burial plot and
Right.
all of that. And I don't really like the idea of my daughter feeling like she has to go and visit my grave.
Mm.
I would rather her have me in a necklace or a bracelet or something where she would feel me with her all the time and not had that burden on her. Oh, I've got friends that, they go to the cemetery every holiday and change out the flowers and, I'll keep it up and all that. And to me, that is a big burden to put on somebody, to have that responsibility. But to each their own,
Yeah.
whatever people want. Hello, Jonathan. I'm sorry I didn't say hi.
All right. So, Walt, did you have something you wanted to share with that?
No, I just buried my mother 2 years ago, and we had this conversation, and I was there when she took her last breath. But she wanted to be cremated, but she wanted her. We had an interment. We buried her ashes with my
Hmm.
aunt and my aunt's ashes, and right at my grandparents' grave. Right, so they're right there. But I thought she was joking when we first started talking about it. And of course, she was in good health when we first started having that discussion. But I'm glad we had that discussion. And the only other thing I like to say is people say, "Oh, you sound morbid," but the reality is, if you think you're going to escape from this world alive, you got another thing coming. So you really, 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 once you are aware of your mortality, you can really live free. You can live a free life. You can live freely. And I got a buddy who passed. I'll never forget this. And this is just something that just sticks with me today. He says, "Man, I didn't start living until they told me I was going to die." you
Exactly.
know and the thing is, the reality is, he could have outlived me, because no one knows when your time is up.
Right.
So when I close my eyes every night, and you say your prayers, I mean, I'm sure people do whatever they do, the realities set in, and that's the only way you can really, really, really free yourself, is to understand that one day this thing is going to be over, and hopefully we make the best of what we have, because people say, "I'm not ready to go." The creator may say, "You haven't done anything with the time I gave you." So that's my
Well, and
biggest fear.
I'm glad you brought up that point because that's the one thing that I'm trying to live my life now. Like this is it.
This
You
is
know,
it. Yeah.
I spent many years living in the past and
Hmm.
many years worrying about the future. And having my 3-year-old granddaughter has shown me that all that's really important is what's right here and right now. This is the only thing we have anything we
That's all
can
you
do
have.
about. We can't fix the past, and we definitely can't foretell the future. So, what we're doing right now, right here, this is the best place in the world
It's
for us
true.
all to be together, to be sharing our opinions.
That's
And
true.
if we get 10 more years, 20 more years, I'm not going to waste it. You
Right.
know, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I want to volunteer. Um, I want to make sure my granddaughter gets a good education. And if God says tomorrow, it's time to come home, I'm
Go
ready
for
to
that.
go.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
go. There's many people I love that are already there waiting, but
Hmm.
I would be upset to leave my daughter and my granddaughter. But I feel like I've given them the best start in life and the best
There you go.
foundation that I can give them.
Right.
And if I have to leave, then I know they're going to be okay because God will
Yeah.
be with them as well.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to die. And my daughter, every time I've had surgery, which I've had many surgeries, and they always make you sign the paper that says, one of the outcomes of this surgery could be death,
Yeah.
you
Could
know.
be death.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, gee, I don't know that I want to die today, but I need the surgery because I might not
Hmm.
live without it. So yes, I'm going to have the surgery, but you never know. Every time
Mm.
you put yourself in somebody else's hands like that, you never know what the outcome might be.
Yeah.
So,
You just got to
I've
live. You
signed that
have to
paper
live.
many a time and prayed to the good Lord that everything would be okay and I'd come out the other side.
Yeah.
And I think that's important too, is that no matter how bad your health is, it can always change. It can
Right.
always get better.
Hmm.
Um, People need to have these conversations when they're in their right mind before
Mhm.
they're so
Right.
ill that they don't know what they're saying or what they're
Right.
doing. And that's with my daughter. She doesn't like me talking about it, but it brings me so much peace knowing that I've been very vocal about my wishes.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
And it's really not up to me, because once I'm no longer here, she's going to do what she wants to do anyway.
Right.
But hopefully she'll remember what I said,
What you said,
I
right.
wanted to have
So
happen. So,
now here's where some of the difficulty comes in, because I believe Echo, you have one daughter, correct? There's
mhm.
no other kids, just your daughter.
No, just my
Okay,
daughter.
and Walt, you was a only child.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so there's nobody to argue about the wishes.
Hey man, let me tell
Yeah,
you. Let me tell
yeah,
you.
yeah.
When my father passed, this is
Mm,
this is crazy, right? When my father passed, I didn't have, my mother and father were divorced. My father passed in 2000. I took care of all his business, and he passed not suddenly, but 17 days after going in the hospital, and it
mm,
wasn't expected until probably about the 14th, 15th day. So it took a turn. But uh, handling all of his business as an only child, piece of cake, right? Everything is good. You know who I had the problem, not problem, but the one challenge I had, and I had to show proof that I was the only child. I don't know how you do that. I had to prove that my parents were divorced. I had to get a divorce decree, and I had to sign an affidavit. And guess what it was for?
all right, come on.
At the time, it was the Washington Redskins
Okay,
season tickets.
the season tickets. Oh,
Oh my
And they
goodness.
said, at the time it was the Redskins. Now it's the Commanders. Of course, it was the Washington football team. But they said that they have most of the lawsuits are over who gets the season tickets. They're not fighting over. Well, this is when they were winning too back in the day, but they people will argue and fight over that. So like you said, man, the good news is you get to take care of all your business without a whole lot of distractions. But the bad news is you got to take care of all the responsibilities and no
mm,
distractions. So I get it. I can't even imagine the sibling rivalries. Drove a limo for 15 years. I've seen a lot of arguments leaving the cemetery, and it's just you put a couple dollars in there and it just changes the dynamics of a lot of things. So
yeah,
for you to
'cause-
be vocal, that makes a lot of sense. Put it in writing, and also understand as we get older, it makes this, and you talk to your financial people, it makes more sense to put someone on your house, on your property, on your account, because when they don't have, it doesn't have to go through probate, and they don't have to lawyer up to get all this stuff done, and the money that you intend for them to have they can get, and then you got trust and
And give
wills and
it
all
to them
kind of stuff.
before you die.
Yeah, before you
right, right,
die.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Not
it's good
not
to
only
have
for
to think
tax
about that.
purposes, but also so you can see them enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's
Mm,
the thing. So it's worth the conversation. As
Mhm.
adults, we got to have these conversations. We talk about everything else, what we like and what we don't like. So you got to have these conversations. And at first they can be uncomfortable, but as you get into it, it's just another conversation to have with grown folks. So
all right.
yeah, yeah,
Now, and I know this started with pets.
yeah. How
that
about
that
that?
was the topic. That was the topic on the
Hey
wheel
man,
was pets. So, and that's what the after show is all about. The
yeah.
after show is all about making those turns, having those deeper conversations. And I'm okay with the whole way it went. That it did start with pets. So,
But here's the thing:
but
everyone on your show and the after show may not own pets, but everyone in the after show is going to have to deal with death
oh yeah,
of a
yeah,
Right.
family member or themselves. So like you said, man, hopefully when it's all over, I can maybe get up to heaven and park cars on the weekend or something. I had a rough life coming up, not too rough, but haven't always done the right thing all the time. I mean, I wasn't a bad guy, but you just hope that whatever it is, I just want you hope you have if eternal rest is a thing, I hope I get that. But we spend more time worrying about eternal rest than trying to have eternal just peace on earth.
on earth. Yeah,
Exactly.
So my goal is to just have peace. I know I'm here, like you say, living in the moment. I'm here. The problem with being happy for most people, it always happens in the future.
mm,
Mhm.
This moment, this place, this time is all we have.
all right.
I've tried to make the best out of that. So thank you
Yeah.
for letting me share these moments with you guys this evening. I appreciate this.
No, and
Well,
I thank you. I thank you
I'm
both.
a
Go ahead.
firm believer in the fact that happiness is a choice.
It's a choice. It's a
You
choice.
can be happy or you can be miserable. It takes the
Yeah.
same amount of energy, and it's just in what you decide. If you
Mm,
want to let little things bother you and make you unhappy, they will. If you say, not today, Today I'm going to be happy. Let me show y'all something that makes me happy.
Mhm.
These are my cucumber seeds.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Look how these babies are growing in
Growing.
only
Yeah.
a week.
Wow.
Wow. Mm.
Now, I planted 4 little pots of cucumber seeds,
Mhm.
about 5 or 6 cucumber seeds in each pot. Almost every one of them is making a plant. I'm going to
Mm.
have cucumbers coming out the ears,
All
but
right.
I love cucumbers.
All right.
But this makes me so happy to play in that dirt, put those seeds in there, and now I get to watch them grow.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Wow.
To somebody else, this means nothing.
But
Mm.
it's
To
the little
me, this is
things.
life.
Yeah, that's life.
Yes.
This is the cycle of life. And I'm
Yeah.
going to eat these cucumbers, and my granddaughter's going to eat these cucumbers, and we're going to
Right.
enjoy them so much.
Mm.
And I'm going to be happy about that.
Right.
Right.
You know, there are so many things in this life you can be unhappy about. So
Yes.
many, you know,
Yeah.
it's all in
I
what,
mean,
how you look at it and what you decide. If you want to be happy, you can be happy.
Yeah.
mm.
It's a choice.
It
Because
is
what
a
can you
choice.
do? That's all you control is how you respond to what is happening. That's
Right.
all you really control. So if
And
you just that's it. That's all you really control in this life is your response to what happens to you, how you respond to that. That's all you own. And if you keep putting conditions on life, well, once I do this, then I'll be happy. Once I get this, then I'll be happy. You'll never be happy. You'll be chasing it. You it's like a dog chasing his tail. It's like you'll never
Mm.
ever find it in
Right.
relationships, in work, in pleasure, in anything. So
Mm.
that's what it's all about. So when I saw your name, living your best life, this conversation does not surprise me.
All right. Yeah.
This,
Hi,
That's good.
yeah,
off-grid world, welcome in. Um, my thing is that I don't think we know what's going to make us happy. You know,
true.
Mm.
I think as kids and we're growing up, you know, so many people tell us what to do, and, you know, I think you forget that, you know what? I can choose what makes me happy and what doesn't make
Yes,
me happy, and what I
yes.
want to do with my time and my life. And I think kids forget that, you know, and we just end up being, well, you know, I have to go to work. I have to have this job. I have to be this wife. I have to be this mother, you know. Yeah, you have to do a lot of those kind of everyday mundane tasks, but you also have to live, and you have
Yes.
to pick what makes you happy, you know, and
Yes.
Right.
it's not somebody else. It's not whether or not you're married or whether you have a child, or, you know, it's none of those kind of things. It's all in your mind. What you think makes you happy will make you happy. I mean, I love
Mm.
music. That's one of my biggest joys is music. God gave me no musical ability whatsoever. I
You too.
cannot
Yeah.
carry a tune. I cannot play an instrument. I've tried so many instruments. I'm terrible. I was in the church choir. They told me to sing very quietly and let the people around me sing loud, you know.
Yeah.
But I
Solo.
love
Solo. Yeah, the
music,
solo. Solo,
you
nobody
know.
else hears you.
Solo. Nobody can hear you.
Yeah, nobody can hear me. But I
Yeah.
mean, I love music. Music is like life, you know.
Mm.
Yes.
But I have no talent at all. And God gives you what he wants to give you. And it may not be something you think you're good at or you want to be good at. Sometimes you just have to sit back and say, okay, for some reason, I have the ability to do this, that, or the other thing.
Right.
Maybe I need to explore that and see, why did God give me this gift? And what am I supposed to do with that? You know.
Mm.
And then
Wow.
don't beat yourself up if you can't sing like
If
I
you
me.
mean,
can't do it,
but but
that's it.
but but
It's
not
okay. My
using the
daughter
gifts
tells
you
me all the
have.
time, don't sing in the car. You're ruining the song. If you start singing, I'm going to turn the channel. You know, I'm like, okay, I'll just sit here and hum.
Yeah, that's good. I'm like that too. I don't have that. Well, I think I can, but I know I can't sing. So it's one of those things. I can't play the instruments. I got a son that can play multiple instruments in a band, and I'm like, where did you get that from? Because it definitely wasn't from me. But at the same time, I love music. I love music, so I love listening to people sing and share their talents and things like that. So that's one of the big things. And I don't know why I didn't get the gift. So it's all good though. But I can sing solo that nobody can hear me.
You,
So
yeah.
that's it. So I see Desi's out there. I see Off the Grid World. The Source says you got to go. See you, Source, and thank you for being here today.
See you, Source.
And making sure we hit everybody. I try to real quick if we can. If I miss anybody, Echo, you make sure I get them all if we can. So PJ Swish still in there. Amelia, thank you for still hanging with us. Real Life Happens still here, and thank you. Nightbot's been working overtime, so I'm about to get my Nightbot up and running. So hey
my Nightbot is busy,
yeah,
and there's more things I want to put on there too, but I just haven't taken the time to do it.
So it's a Linda Toman creates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So I got that. Fabian Electrical Services is here, and thank you.
Yes.
Make sure I get that right. And living the best life at 60, of course, that's you. You don't have a blue jacket, so I got to make sure we take care of you on that. I don't know why you don't have a blue jacket, but we'll get it. Real Life Happens. I know we said that, and that was Norma, you said, a.k.a.
Norma, yes.
Rudy Fern, and thank you for being here. Sharon Jackson's in the house. I know Denise Jackson is in the house. And Captain Johnson is here. My Games was here. The Source was here. Snapback Trishana was here. Vibing with VC was here. KC Inspirational Tales was here. Crossover Paranormal Society. Okay.
Yes,
Crossover is here. Okay. So Amelia, if I miss anybody, it's definitely not personal. It's just going up and down. This has been the Iron Shopping and Iron Show. We've definitely a deeper dive into a conversation, and the wheel, when it finished spinning, was on pets. And
I do want to say one thing about YouTube, though.
Yes.
A lot of people think you have to stay in whatever community you are in, whatever your content is.
Right.
That's the only reason to do that, is to limit yourself. You never know where you're going to meet the different people. I have people in my channel that are from all over the country, and they are from all different walks of life. And to me, that's what's fun about YouTube, is you don't know until you know. You know, somebody might have some experiences totally different than yours, a different culture, a different country, you know, whatever it might be. Might be somebody that, you know, is blue collar or somebody who's on Wall Street. You don't know. You don't know who these people are until you get to know them. But that, to me, is the beauty of YouTube, that we don't have to leave our homes, and yet we get to meet all these people. Yeah. So I appreciate it, Jack. I really, really have enjoyed it. And Walt, very nice to meet you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I can talk to anybody about anything, let me tell you.
Oh, and that's what it's all about. So I know in the comments, someone made a comment. Who was it? Off the Grid or Off Grid World said, first time here, like the name Iron Sharpen Iron. And I appreciate that, Off Grid World. Thank you for being here. And I know you came through Echo's channel. She's being live. But that's what this show is all about. It's about us linking up, the iron sharpening iron. You're bringing things to the table that's going to make me stronger. I'm going to bring things to the table that's going to make you stronger. And together, we're going to make each other stronger. Because I honestly believe 100% that we're stronger together. And it's not just in just one community. And that's a good place to start, but it can grow all over the world. Right here on this channel, we're reaching all over the globe, is being reached at the same time. And we're able to share our experiences. I got to know you better today, seeing some of the things, the comments that you left, the facts that you were putting out. You're going to help somebody. Somebody's going to watch this video, and it's going to help them get through a situation that they're going through. And it's because you being open, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you all coming in here. And the after show Echo, just for anyone, it was for everyone out there, but it was because sometimes in that 1 hour, we're not able to hit everything. Mm-hmm. In that 1 hour, we would have never, it might not have come up about the pets. And it definitely would have kept
That's right.
yourself ready. But those are facts that now can come up. And that's why we have this time. And I'm glad that you were open and willing to share some of your experiences and all. So I'm gonna go back to pets for real quick, because my first pet that I chose in his mind was a snake. I had a ball python in college.
Ooh.
So I really, really liked my. So hey, they're quiet. They, they're in the most of the time they're in their tanks or they're almost like fish.
Most of the time.
Yeah, well, if they can get out, you got to watch out so they get out. But I know how you feel about them. So.
Hey man, snakes and rats, man.
Yeah. Well, think about it. That's what they eat. So that's
Yeah.
the one taking care of the other one. So, but
Yeah.
I used to take them for a walk and everything when I was in college because you had to get them out there and let them take them up on the football field in the middle of the summer and let them just get out and slide across the field or whatever because he could tan out there. But that was my first pet. That was the first. And when I went into the military, I couldn't take my pet with me. I couldn't. So it was the same. So now I had to find somebody that was willing to take my snake. And by that time, he's probably probably a little bit over 3.5 feet long. And was, so it's like, and I found someone who took care of him. And so that was good. But that was one of those things where we always say fur babies, but it don't always have to have fur.
That's true.
I had them from the time that they had just came out the egg. And I had them from there to about 3.5 feet. They called him Viper. So Viper was my man. So so that was my first. Now, will I ever have another one? Probably not. But at the same time, that was my first time and first one ever. We've had a lot of dogs in my life, but they were never mine. They were in the house, but they weren't mine. So, it was funny because they understand who their human is,
Mm-hmm.
You're not my human. You might be in the house, but you're not my human. So, and I remember my wife went out of town one time, and when she went out of town, at that time we only had the one lab. We didn't have the sister yet. But when she went out of town, the lab she started coughing. I was like, oh no, you always so I called the vet right away. We got pet insurance. I called the vet right away. I was like, I need this to come in. I need you to bring him in right now. And so I get him in, and they because she started coughing today. I don't know what's going on. Her human is out of the country. I need y'all to, don't bring that on me. But anyway, it ended up being an ear infection. So it was good that I caught it and that I did take her in. But at the same time, yeah, we had pet insurance, and we didn't get ours through that. But I found out that Costco's have a real good pet insurance program where they even have pet daycare and all that stuff included into their pet insurance. So it's something to look into if you got Costco's. Just not getting anything from Costco's for promoting them, but it is a program out there for pet insurance for those who, and it was really, really inexpensive or affordable for those, and it's a good program that comes with the membership of being a Costco member. So if you're a Costco member and you're looking for pet insurance, I would say check them out and see what you got. But with that being said, Walt, do you have anything you want to put out there before we
it's just like the snake thing, right? And it's weird, how you like the only way to get through your fears is to face them. So as a kid, I wasn't really afraid of snakes, but I just didn't like snakes. How does that go, right? It wasn't like I'm gonna break my neck to get out of the way. But once and we golf together, so once you start golfing and you hit your ball in the woods, you got to go find your ball. So how many times we've gone in the woods and seen snakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, man, it's once you go through it a few times and I guess don't get bitten, and you're good. But nature, man, I try to stay out of nature's way. A dog, a cat, domestic animals, snakes, alligators. When we go down to Florida or South Carolina, Jack, the guy told us, oh yeah, man, if you're looking at the snout, if you're looking at his tail, he's going to go in the direction his snout is going. He says, but if you're looking at him, he's faster than you realize. So, you're not going out. And I'm like, whoa. And I said, plus you got that Fred Flintstone moment where you're running in place for a few minutes, So, so like I said, man, hats off to you, man, because to just wake up and go get a snake. I did have the snakehead fish, but to go get a snake as a pet, I'm out on that, man. I'm all the way out. So,
and wait. Talking about, and the thing is, even with going in there to get them golf balls, I know the seasons. So I know that a snake is not going to be out there in this because it's the seasons that they're not going to be out in this.
But we play all seasons. So my thing is, I'm not going to
go in the woods in the summertime.
Hey man, I'm not going to get it. Well, if you're down south, down Florida, down Georgia, maybe South Carolina, you get more poisonous snakes. But
Yeah.
You catch an old black snake, garden snake in the woods up here, man. So what? But I'm not gonna let a snake get in between me and the bogey, saving bogey or paw, maybe. You know what I mean? You have to pay you a skin. So
It's
that's what
almost,
it is. But hey, man, hats off to you, man, because a snake as a pet, no sir, I'm out.
yeah.
I'm
Okay.
I
out. But
couldn't do it only because I couldn't let it eat the mice.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would
that would
be
be the
like,
problem.
we can't let it have the mice, you know? I'd be like trying to make it a vegetarian or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I
well,
couldn't do that. Mm-mm.
you know what? It's funny that y'all saying this, and I know we got a couple of minutes left for
Well,
the end of the after show. But and I noticed this, and I mentioned this before. You know, the one thing no one cares. I won't say no one cares, but you're not so much bothered by animals eating fish. Like we were
ah,
like, hey, not the mice, not this, not but a fish. Like I'm thinking of the cartoon Madagascar. And you know, they
Yeah.
got the lion out there and the
yeah.
lion, and they wouldn't let the lion eat no animal out there, but they gave him a table full of fish. It's
But
like,
guess
oh
what?
well.
But is anyone online a vegetarian, right? Any nobody's a
Nah, I'm
vegetarian,
not a
right?
vegetarian, no.
Yeah, so there it is, man. So so hey, and I'm guilty of it too. I had ribs for dinner.
Me
So
too. Yeah.
Well,
you know,
there's a difference between eating an animal that has been made for you to eat and eating a pet.
you
You
can't
know,
have that
I mean, I
conversation with, but you can't have that conversation with a vegetarian
no, no.
Yeah.
or a
But what
vegan,
I'm
and you
saying
can't.
is that if I was starving, I would not
Uh-huh.
eat my dog.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
No, no, no.
you
yeah,
know.
Mm.
yeah. I'm with you.
But
I'm
So
with you.
with that Echo, as you're saying, when you go to the pet store to get the mouse or whatever for the snake to eat, they
yeah,
are feeder. They're feeder mice.
yeah, I
But it's
They
still
were
a
know, I
mouse.
raised.
know, but
They
still,
were raised for that. But I understand they
I
were
It's
couldn't.
raised
still a
for that
mouse.
purpose.
It's still
Yeah.
a mouse. And like I said, man, I feel worse for the mouse in the pet store than I do if I see something running down the street or running down.
No, I
At
got
wintertime come, you get the old field mouse.
you. Right,
Hey
right.
man, he's got to go. I
Mm.
try to make it quick, but
Well, look, you ain't by
I
yourself though.
don't.
The rest of the
Yeah, I
family,
don't. I don't.
the rest of the family feel the same way. They all the
yeah,
same. They don't want to. They don't want nothing to do.
yeah,
With it. So
yeah,
I would never have another one. But that was something I had during my time in when I was in college. So, but
yeah.
thanks, Walt.
Hey,
Oh,
mhm.
do you have anything you would like to share before we close out the show?
I know that farmers have to detach from their animals, to be able to raise them to eat.
Mhm.
And that's something I just couldn't do. So
Mm,
that's why I'm not a farmer because
right.
you have to be able to do that. And I couldn't do that. So,
Yeah.
but I
You
can
know.
grow plants. I'll eat a plant. I don't
Right.
have a
Right. Right.
problem with that.
Yeah. Now it don't have to be. If you have anything you want to share with everyone in the chat or whatever, we're getting ready to close out the show, and I just want to see if you have anything you want to share with your people that came in to visit you, or those who've been watching us on the Iron Shopping Iron Show and the After Show.
Well, I appreciate each and every one of you. And I love the fact that you came in and hung out with us tonight. I am amazed every time I go live that anybody shows up to listen to me. And I especially like having guests up because it is so much easier to talk to somebody instead of being by yourself and you're trying to read the chat and trying to get a conversation going in the chat. It's much easier to have, people to talk to. But I love all my subscribers, and most all of them are my friends. I don't really distinguish between once you come in my chat, you're pretty much my friend, unless you do something, and then I don't like you. But I really have. I have not had a bad experience with YouTube. I really haven't. Most everybody I have met has just been a wonderful, person. So
Right.
I guess I'm
That's good.
lucky in that respect.
Well, that's good. And sometimes you get back what you put out. You didn't put out a lot of mess, so you don't get a lot of mess back. So, and we appreciate that. So I thank you, Echo, for being on the show today on the Iron Shopping and Iron Show. I thank you for being on the after show with us. Definitely had a good conversation. Like I say, we only spit the wheel one time, and we got a lot out of it. So man, I'm waiting to watch the replay so I can get more into it, and I appreciate it. I want to thank each and every person who came out today and that was in the chat and hung with us all day. All of your comments and everything. If we didn't call out your name, it's not because we didn't acknowledge that you was there. We might have missed it or whatever. I'm prone to do that. So, bear with me. I'm working on it. I'm getting much better. Thank you for all of for all that you do, and every one of you, because we know that you have a lot of things that you could do today, and to spend time with me and Echo and even Walt on the stage, it's a wonderful blessing, and we truly thank you. I want to say, if you have not put in the chat yet, in the comments, you can do it after the show, but do it now. The hashtag Grow and Glow Together, so you can get your name entered into the end of the month prize drawing. And we will be doing that during the We Be Jamming live show. So definitely make sure you put it down there and put it in the comments. Once I see that hashtag Grow and Glow Together, we'll definitely make sure we add your name to the wheel for the prize giveaway. And we're going to be giving away 2 prizes. And that's going to be September, March the 29th at 9 p.m. is when the show starts. And we'll give a prize away about halfway through the show, and then we'll give one away 3/4 of the way through the show. But you got a chance to win by just putting in there hashtag Grow and Glow Together. So until next time, I thank you all for being here with me. I ask you we are stronger together, that if each one would just reach one, we can all grow and glow. And until next time, I'm going to ask you to say blessed and peace. Thank you.
Take care, Echo.
All right.
Take care, Big
Thank
Jack.
you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.